Good evening everybody, today we're taking a deep dive into the history of guitar hero Buckethead and the many bands he's toured up and down the road with. And just to note, these only include bands that Buckethead was a fully fledged member and don't include pre-Buckethead or guest appearances. So let's begin. Woo! Buckethead's first recognised band was the infamous Deli Creeps. Formed with high school friend Maximum Bob on vocals, Tony Black on bass and Pinchface on drums. The band began touring in their native LA in 1989 when Buckethead was 20 years old, before racking up numerous gigs and honing their craft in the San Francisco area throughout 1990 and 91. The band would part ways in late 91 but reconnect several times over the years in 95, 96, 03 and finally in 2005 to coincide with their first and only studio album, Dawn of the Deli Creeps, to go along with their 3 arguably superior demo tapes.
You're kicking a little longer than most do. I'm here to set you free!
In late 1991, after his departure from the Deli Creeps, Buckethead would join the supergroup Praxis. Formed by Grammy Award-winning producer and bassist Bill Laswell, the band first began touring in 1995 with Laswell on bass, DJ Disc on turntables, and original member Brian Brain Mantia on drums. The band would later release a handful of studio albums along with several live albums and tour sporadically through 1995 to 2005, playing their final gig October 28, 2006 at the Vegas Festival in Las Vegas. Whilst the band saw a revolving door of musicians for their many studio albums, their most revered on-stage lineup consisted of core members Buckethead, Bill Laswell, Brain, and funk legend the late great Bernie Worrell on keyboards. Long live Praxis! In late 1995, Buckethead, along with Praxis member and best friend Brain, as well as future BAFTA award-winning producer Pete Scaturo, would form the 3-piece band Giant Robot.
What is that? A giant robot!
Named after Buckethead's favourite TV show of the 1960s, the band will play a handful of gigs throughout 1996 to promote their now classic and super rare album, Giant Robot NTT. In 1997, after the first incarnation of the Giant Robot band, Buckethead would form Giant Robot 2. The band saw Buckethead reconnecting with Deli Creeps drummer Pinchface, Praxis alumni DJ Disc, and bass player Lou. The band toured fairly consistently throughout 1997 to mid-98, including a 4-date European tour in promotion of one of Buckethead's most highly acclaimed albums, Colma. In 1999 would see Buckethead make appearances in a handful of short-lived bands, the first being Benoit. Fronted by ex-Limbo Maniacs vocalist House, the band consisted once again of DJ Disc and Brain, as well as Merv on guitar and programmer Dr. Ware. The band would only make one live appearance, a release party on January 29, 1999 for their highly underrated trip-hop album, Devil Dub. Even though Benoit can be regarded as a guest appearance by Buckethead, it's worth mentioning as several members of the band would later branch off to form their own band, El Stew.
Slow down, speed up.
Featuring Buckethead, Brain, DJ Disc, turntablist and scratcher Eddie Death, and bassist and producer Extract. The band would perform twice in 1999, releasing their underrated debut album No Hesitation, later followed by the excellent Rehearsal album a few years later. Later in 1999, after a successful guest appearance spot for Les Claypool's Primus on the Ozfest tour and the release of the album Monsters and Robots, Buckethead caught the eye of a certain Axl Rose. After a meeting at Axl's home on Christmas Day 1999, Buckethead would officially join one of the most famous bands of all time, Guns N' Roses. The band would see numerous lineups, but the Buckethead incarnation of the band featured Buckethead, Axl Rose, Robin Fink, Tommy Stinson, Richard Fortus, and familiar face Brain. Plagued by delays and cancellations, the band would only play just over 24 shows, with Buckethead understandably leaving in 2004. 4 years after Buckethead's departure, GNR released the album Chinese Democracy, which by all accounts was completed within the first 10 months of Buckethead's arrival in 2000.
Maybe I could have handled it better or whatever.
Whilst in GNR, Buckethead was still involved in numerous projects, including reconnecting with Deli Creeps frontman Maximum Bob in mid-2000 to form the short-lived Hook and Pull Gang. The band played less than a handful of times in the LA area and was essentially the Deli Creeps without Pinchface on drums. Later in 2000, Buckethead would be a part of the band Moonraker, with DJ Flair on turntables and Faith No More's Mike Patton on vocals. At the time, Patton was performing one-night-only shows with various members, and the project was never intended to go beyond the one night. Performing on December 18, 2000 in LA to good reviews, the performance is memorable for being the one and only outing of Buckethead's double-neck Jackson guitar. Glorious. In 2002, the previously mentioned supergroup Praxis was set to perform at the Bonnaroo Festival in Tennessee. However, when founding member Bill Laswell was unable to perform, Primus frontman Les Claypool stepped in and alongside Buckethead, Bernie Worrell and Brain formed a new supergroup, Colonel Claypool's Bucket of Bernie Brains, also known as C2B3. The get-together would lead to a handful of shows in 2002 and 2003 and a 3-month tour in 2004 to coincide with the release of their one and only studio album, The Big Eyeball in the Sky. In 2004, Buckethead would reform the Giant Robot Band, with Brain back on drums and bassist and ex-Limbo Maniacs member House taking over duties from original member Pete Scaturo. The band played less than 24 excellent shows, including a particularly memorable show at the Mystic Theatre in California, with their final appearance occurring at Japan's Fuji Rock Festival. In 2005 and 2006, Buckethead would hit the road, largely in promotion of his album Enter the Chicken, backed by the return of Deli Creeps drummer Pinchface and bassist and producer Dan Monty, aka Brewer. Together, the three-piece band would play close to 100 shows, which is more shows than Buckethead played with Guns N' Roses, Praxis and C2B3 combined, even reconnected in 2011 for a handful of shows. Despite this, the band never had an official name or released an album as a three-piece, and with only Buckethead's name on the marquee, is often seen as a backing band for Buckethead, rather than a fully fledged band. Still, based on the amount of shows, it's Buckethead's longest touring band. Whilst touring with Pinchface and Dan Monty, Buckethead was occasionally joined on stage in 2006 by one-man band That One Guy and his magic pipe instrument. Buckethead and That One Guy would later form the band The Frankenstein Brothers and release the album Bolt on Neck. They would later tour in 2008 to promote the album and reconnect again in 2012 for a number of shows, with That One Guy often being the support act, later joining Buckethead on stage at the end of a set. From 2012 to 2016, Buckethead would go on a 4-year hiatus from touring due to several reoccurring back issues, returning to the road in mid-2016 to complete one of his longest solo tours, clocking up almost 70 shows. Then, in the fall of 2017, Buckethead would once again reconnect with longtime friend and bandmate Brian Brain Mantia, along with Pike album co-writer and producer Dan Brewer Monty, for almost 24 shows as Buckethead, Brain and Brewer, with the shows sparking many nostalgic moments from the earlier days of Praxis and Giant Robot. To date, this is Buckethead's final touring band, with him returning as a solo act in 2018 and 19. So, from the Deli Creeps to Praxis to Guns N' Roses and more, Buckethead has been in a range of diverse bands and shined in all of them. What was Buckethead's greatest touring band? Well, that's up for debate, and who knows, maybe the best is yet to come. One thing is for certain, as history has shown, whatever band Buckethead is in, it'll be bloody glorious.